Let's face it, life isn't easy. If you're stuck in a bad relationship, betrayed or afraid of tomorrow, financially insecure, or desperate for a breakthrough, you've come to the right place. Dr. Carmen Harra is a renowned psychologist, intuitive, relationship expert, and best-selling author, and she's here to give you the miracle guidance you need. Her new call-in show, Miracle Guidance for Everyday Life, offers profound wisdom, practical advice, daily exercises, and empowering predictions, all for you. Dr. Harra's show aims to eliminate everyday problems, big and small, with topics like healing your relationships, reclaiming your power, achieving better health, dealing with loss, and so much more. Regain the joy, stability, and fulfillment you deserve to feel. Tune in to Miracle Guidance for Everyday Life with host Dr. Carmen Harra, live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and find the answers you've been looking for.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, my wonderful friends, and welcome to another episode of Miracle Guidance. I'm Carmen Harra, live on OMTime Radio every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And tonight, we are going to talk about love, and because we want to honor Valentine's Day, and I'm doing a show on love, especially how to build and how to keep love through time. That's the most difficult thing. I mean, I'm doing this career, and I'm talking to people for a very long time in my life, more than 30 years, and everybody ends up by complaining about their love life, complaining about relationships, complaining about not knowing how to express their emotion and how to receive love and how to give love. And I don't know why it's so complicated, because love is the most beautiful emotion and the most healing emotion of all. But having a relationship is like having a house, like building a house. All you have to do is keep on adding to it, keep on working on it, keep on working, keep on improving it, and constantly maintaining a house is like maintaining a relationship in which two people have to be present, not only one. And you have to be present in a very complex way. You're talking about the complexity of being involved. And that means being emotionally present, being mentally present, of course, spiritually present, of course, before anything physically present, because sometimes in relationship, one is completely absent mentally, emotionally, then don't participate. Sometimes they absent physically. I mean, you're married to somebody who you hardly can see because he's not around. He has a job somewhere else, so he will find ways of being away. But I want to tell you something that is my conclusion after all of these years of working with people and working primarily on their love life, because if your love life is good, if you feel fulfilled in your love, then you can change your career, then you can reinvent yourself, you can create the best version of yourself. You feel healed, you feel empowered. If you're missing that, then all you concentrate is your success and your money. That is not fulfilling at the stage that it should be. That's just an opinion. But my opinion, talking about opinions, is that relationships, they do come in phases and in stages. Before anything is the dating stage, in which you try to get to know the person before you decide anything else. Like, okay, I'm going to a date. I hear this all the time. I have a date tonight. I go to meet somebody. Before I decide whether I like him, I don't like him, I'm in that dating phase. And after the dating phase comes let's say you found somebody, the newlywed stage, in which, oh my God, I found him, there's the one, this is it for me. And you're in that kind of a perfectly blissful stage, and the whole world is yours. You're in heaven. And then after being in heaven comes the moment phase, in which you are excited about the changes that come with this person in your life, like having a new home, moving to a different area, having a baby. So after the moving stage and all of this starts to happen into your life comes the settling stage, in which you start to get used to this new lifestyle, you start to get used to the person that you swear to be with, and you decided to marry. And when you go into that kind of settling stage, you start to see the things you were not able to see when you were in a la-la land before. So you start to see the faults. You start to see the things that you've been missing. And then you go into the phase, what did I get myself into phase? So that's the next phase, in which I'm hearing a lot of people coming to me and said, oh my God, Dr. Harra, everything was so beautiful. We loved each other. We had the best time for 1.5 years or 5 years. God knows it's different from one individual to another. Then we get into a phase, why did I do this to myself? Why did I marry this person? Because the inevitable starts to creep in. Those problems creep into all relationships. And they take the toll on the relationship. So nothing is beautiful anymore. Nothing is bliss and heaven. Now you come back to earth and you say, okay, well, it's the last stage, in which is the ending stage, and there we go to a divorce. And we have to separate, So we go from the phase, what did I do to myself? Why did I get myself into? To the stage of, I want out. That's it. I'm done. I'm finished. I cannot stand this person. What was wrong with me? What was I thinking? But then I see some people that go from this phase, the last phase, going back into the beginning of the newlywed stage, in which you go back to rekindling, you go back into believing, you go back into bringing love into the relationship. So what I'm trying to say is that you listening to me, which stage are you in? Because it all depends on how you cultivate the love you have for another. And it all depends on the level of your gratitude, the level of understanding, the level of forgiveness, and all those other emotions that come together with these phases, because every single phase has an emotion attached to it. From feeling like the world is you into feeling angry and going through hell, and you switch from being in heaven to going through hell. So these are the roller coaster of going through relationships in time. And I've seen it 1,000,000 times, and I've handled it, and I've tried to help people. And if you're listening to me, say, here I am. I love to call this show and find out what am I doing to my life and where am I exactly. The number to call in is 202-570-7057. My producer is just a wonderful person. And his name is Christopher, and he will take your call. And he will connect you with me so we can talk specific things. Where are you in your life right now? Are you still dreaming? Are you still hoping? Are you still looking? Are you into a moving state? Into the stage of why did I get myself into? So let's see where you stand in your love life. And if there is anything I can do to guide you through, to take you out of the state of being confused, angry, not knowing exactly what's your next step. So we can look and kind of, when investigating, doing a little bit of psychological work into how are we going, to navigate through this. Because as I said, having a relationship is having a house that you constantly pay maintenance on it. You mow the lawn, you have somebody always fixing the things that are breaking. And as I said, if there's not two people in doing it, and it's only you, then we're not talking about relationship. So for love to last, there's one key ingredient, one key statement that I want to make. A relationship cannot remain stagnant. Your relationship requires revision every day. The danger is that things can get stagnant. When they stagnation means dying. The law of life is movement, transformation. This universe in a constant, perpetual transformation. You look at flowers, you look at the universe, you look at the earth moving around. We're not 500 years ago when we thought the earth is square, and Galileo said, no, la terra è ronda e pur si muove, the earth is round, and we need to kill him because the Inquisition believed the earth is square, so everybody else had to believe the same thing. But now at least we're more open-minded, and I like, by the way, the speech at the Oscar, by the guy who, in the Joker movie, because he had, the only one who had something to say at the Oscars, by the way, other than the thank you thing, he had some words of wisdom about the world we are going through. And so the world we are going through is in a constant transformation. The question is that a good transformation or not? Because we seem to kind of disconnect from the essence of where we're coming from. And we disconnect from the earth, and we disconnect from the divine world. I mean, we still think there's God somewhere, but we don't really act like we know him or are in touch with anymore. So that's the sad part of the way this world moves. I would prefer this world to be stagnant the way it was many years ago, at that level of thinking. But as I said, relationship require revision. You want to call in? Feel free to call me in, and we can certainly talk. We can certainly talk about you, and we can certainly talk about what's happening in your life and see where your life is going, because when you feel you get confused, and most likely, as I said, when you feel you stagnant, you feel the being stuck state of mind, like you look at your life and said, I'm in the same boat. What am I doing? I can't go anywhere. I can't move anywhere. I can't achieve anything. If you feel in that state of mind, then you really need to do something about it. Don't live in a moment of stagnation for way too long, but it's almost like the sense of falling apart, the sense of dying, and you don't see the chances around you. So, if we were to look back through the history of relationship, the old way of doing things were way better, like I said, than the way we're doing it today, in my opinion. Because if you go back in time, 50% of the marriages nowadays end up in the divorce. But if you go back in time, there was a total different marriage mentality. I actually wanted to write a book about the marriage mentality and the way that mentality changed. And my belief is that in this world, everything is belief. And you can never go beyond your belief. And what you believe, you actually translate into your reality. And it's interesting how the mind responds, the cells, the neurons, everything responds to the way you think. So if you constantly think negatively, those thoughts go at the level of the cells, and they disrupt the life of the cell. And this is the way we develop autoimmune disorder, cancer, and we weaken what? Our immune system. Our immune system vibrates incredibly well with the way the mind thinks, and receives, our immune system's level of the cells receives our mental messages. So, and that comes true in relationship. If you constantly project your misery in a relationship, that relationship is just supposed to fall apart, supposed to end. So what I'm trying to say is that how significant it is, your mentality. So going back to the marriage mentality, going back in time, when there was a different understanding of the idea of marriage, I think of my grandmother, I think I mentioned that my grandmother, my grand-grandmother, the way they lived. I mean, my grand-grandmother lived 112 and my grandmother 103. And they had no idea the doctors exist, by the way, which is a good thing for them. That's why they live so long. But by the way, they never had the stress, the anxiety. I don't think they knew about anxiety. There was a different mentality. They stick with each other. There's no such things like you need to divorce, you need to separate, you need to run away from each other. So here is where today we see like more than 50% of all marriages end up in a divorce. So this is the sad reality of the modern relationship. As I said, this didn't hold true generations ago, a few generations ago. But what changes in a matter of decades? As I said, I'm repeating myself, our mentality changed. Now we place the ego before the I. So it's our ego comes first. And we see this from the level of the White House, all the way to people in position of leadership, and all they care is about themselves. And don't tell me otherwise, because I will not believe you. I know for sure in my heart, and intuitively and psychologically, I look at the way things are done, and I'm stunned, that people put themselves and not the well-being of this country, We place ourselves, our needs, our wants, our desires. We're afraid of, I'm going to lose my job if I do something, if I stand up, if I say something. So we continue to act this way. I don't know where this world is going to go, but anyhow, let's pray for the best. I'm going all over the map with the conversation today because I'm kind of upset with everything that's happening. I don't know about you, but I feel really affected by the state of affairs, the state of the world we are living in. But coming down to the topic today, to the topic of love, I do believe that if that moment of awareness, the collective awareness that we need to embrace each other, we need to come in oneness. And I wrote a book on this in 2011, right before the 2012, because I thought that there's hope for humanity. There's hope. I still feel hope for humanity to come as one and not to be broken. So I do believe that we need to come as one in order to heal what's happening with all of us. And that comes through a relationship. Anyone whose relationship has lasted the test of time will tell you, that there are some ingredients and some key to successful relationship. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So if you are going to call me and tell me, hey, I go through a hard time, my relationships are falling apart, I am not happy, I think I'm going to divorce after 18 years of marriage. If you go through something like this, we can definitely talk about this. But there are three elements. I'm going to go to a break, and then I'm going to tell Dave from California, who's a new caller, and I'm really excited to talk to him, see what he has to say. So hold on the line, Dave and Leilani and all of you, and I'll be back with you in a minute.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
And I'm back on OMTime Radio. I'm Carmen Harra. My topic today is how to make a relationship last. And of course, I went all over the discussion in different directions. But, I remember speaking to to people who their marriages lasted like 60 years, 40 years, 50 years, and I always ask, what's the ingredient? And they always said the 3C, the 3C, compatibility, commitment, and compromise. So the first one is compatibility. Two people have to be compatible. Unfortunately, a lot of people just get involved or get married without thinking of compatibility. They have different other reasons. The reason might be I'm married, for safety, I'm married for money, and people, when they're not compatible, they marry for the wrong reason, and then that's a guaranteed divorce. And then commitment. A relationship is no walk in the park. You becoming responsible for someone else's well-being, and you welcoming that person into your deepest zone of intimacy. So you have to prepare to commit to that person in the same way you commit to your own self. And that's what people don't seem to understand. Okay, well, I love my wife or I love my husband, but am I really, connected to him at that deepest level of emotional intimacy that I talk so many times on my show? Meaning, am I really, welcoming that person to the deepest zone of intimacy in my soul, which I'm committed to him exactly the way I'm committed to me? I don't know about that. So that's something I want you guys to question yourself. And then the last one that always comes true in a relationship is compromise. So compatibility, commitment, and compromise, because a relationship means you will have to let someone else be right half of the time. Are you prepared for that? Are you prepared to let them win? Are you prepared to give them credit? Are you prepared to allow them to make a point? So many people are not ready to put their proud guard down. So many people, as I talk about the ego in this low level of consciousness, the ego plays such a dark role sometimes in relationship, because you put your ego first and you're not listening to that person that you are supposed to commit exactly the same way you commit to your own self. But without this 3C, compatibility, commitment, and compromise, the bonds of a relationship are easily broken. So no question the statistics show divorce after 1 year, after 3 years, after 5 years. You really do have to look at a relationship through the lens of through thick and thin. Because in the modern world, you're taught to think that people are interchangeable. That's what the modern world is teaching. Okay, so forget about him. There's another one coming, You might say to yourself, this partner has too many problems, so I'm going to change you for another one, because, there's this world of the internet and dating online, and there's so many people out there. Wrong thinking. It doesn't work this way. Really doesn't work this way. So it's not easy, because the next partner, you know what the next partner is going to be? Will share the same problem. And the next into the next into the next, and there's something called karma that we fail to acknowledge, that we like the idea of karma. And we play with this word because it sounds kind of cool and kind of spiritual and modern age, without actually understanding any of this in many cases. But many people don't embrace their partner for their strength and weaknesses alike. They only embrace what that person can do for them. So this belief has to change up in order to change a lot in order to keep up a good relationship. So I'm talking from all these many years of experience, but I promised Dave that I will take his call, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Hi, my dear Dave. Thank you so much for calling the show.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
I ran across you and found an article written in the Huffington Post about betrayal. And so I think it was called 13 Steps to Recover After Betrayal.
Right, yes.
And to give you just a little bit of context, I was married for, in a relationship for 20 years. And then very quickly afterwards ended up in another relationship for about 5 years. And through that relationship, really explored and learned a great deal about love, and was able to, I think, give more to myself to that person than I ever have before. And that relationship ended very abruptly. I was surprised. I was taken aback by it. And, I don't think it matters why or any of those kinds of things. I think at this point,
agree.
I'm trying to I was really fixated on one of the steps of erasing the imprints of betrayal, and I needed some more clarification. And there was a phrase that you said that you recommend quietly meditating and then digging into the contents of your brain and wiping out old memories or patterns that keep you stagnant. And I'll shut up in just a second. My big fear is I don't want to get trapped in some of the negative feelings that I have. And I don't want to erase them either, but I could definitely use some guidance on that particular phrase if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I want to explain you something there. So what happens to our brain is that when we go through an experience, like your experience with the first marriage or the first relationship, and it ends up bad, so something happened there. There's an imprint in your brain. So all the neurons in your brain, they create a clusters of neurons that keep that memory alive. So that memory is stored there, even if you don't operate on that memory and try to create a new one by bringing somebody else into your life without actually realizing. Your brain that stores that imprint will start acting the same way like you did before. So that pain is still there. The memories are still there. What went wrong is still within you, even if in between you actually try to dig deeper and correct the things that went wrong and not to implement the same mistake into the new relationship. There is a side of you that will tempt to, and it's not a conscious side, it's that subconsciousness of yours that might tempt to sabotage the new relationship without even realizing. And that's the danger that happens many times. And especially if there's betrayal involved. If betrayal is involved, that's very hard to heal. Because without realizing, you will live with that fear that might happen to you again. And you know what I mean? When you operate this way without realizing, you're actually projecting that fear in the outer world. And there is something about manifesting the things that exist within yourself that you're afraid of. That's why you said, while you're afraid, you will experience. Like reality reflects what the mind projects. So you tend to project things that exist as imprint in your mind. Do I make myself clear?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
So that's why when I try to write articles, and I write a lot for all magazines, all the magazines, or majority of them. So I write topics like people should be aware of the things that they don't want to repeat. They don't want to, create the same situation. Even tonight I said, well, here we are, in different phases of have you ever listened to the phases of a relationship, from the excitement, let me go date into okay, let me get married because I'm excited, I met this person and everything, the thing's amazing. And then I'm going to the other phases, from the dating phase into the blissful state of mind of everything is perfect, and to the settling in the relationship, and into the phase of the inevitable moment in which the memory creeps in which the problems start to creep in. So then the relationship starts to fall apart, and then you question yourself 5 years later, like you said, why did I got myself into it? Why did I do wrong? And here I am, nothing is happening. So years later, I'm actually disappointed, and I need to walk away from everything that I've invested so much for all these years. So in which phase do you think you got stuck into? In which phase you think you became aware this is not going to work for me?
In my marriage, which was a long time ago, it was the last phase. In my most recent relationship, even after 5 years, it was bliss. It was amazing, and I've worked hard at it.
So you did experience something that you didn't have in your first relationship, which was the marriage one, the marriage.
Yes. I a lot of the things that you've said about, you have to work hard and you can't be complacent. And I was anything but complacent in the relationship. I think we both of us were very, very happy in it. And without the details don't matter.
I don't know if you believe me. I don't think this relationship ended correctly, or it's not completely over. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, there's definitely, I think it's over. I mean, I know it's over, but I certainly don't feel that closure. And as I was, reading your article about, sorry, go ahead.
That's what I feel is not over. Within yourself is not over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. You're 100%. You're 100% right. I'm definitely, really struggling with it and actively working on myself to make sure I'm not stuck in it.
Right. And that's the fear I have, because that sense of being stuck, especially when something was so beautiful and that it ends, and then you're not really ready to end it, and you have a hard time making peace with the fact that you have to put an end, and then you still miss those beautiful moments. And then at the end of the day,
you're 100% right.
Then at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense. Why did why everything was so beautiful and that it fall apart? Do you have an idea what triggered, this falling apart from such a bliss, such a beautiful thing? What really happened here? Do you have an idea in your mind so you can make peace with?
I think so. I mean, we were in a long distance thing that was coming to a closer distance,
right.
And there were some delays, and I think some frustration on her part, and understandable. I appreciate and respect all those things, but there's two different kinds of things that happen. One are things that are in your control, and
right.
there's things that are out of your control. And some of the things that I think she struggled with were kind of acts of God and not a conscious decision, or not a decision, or not something that I had particular control of. So I think she grew frustrated, and I respect that and understand it. And so, but I still was all in, and we were both all in, but it ended abruptly and ended weird. So
that's even worse. I hate to say that. That's even worse, because you couldn't even have closure. You didn't even have the real reason, when everything had all the potential, and then these outside factors like the distant relationship, the fact that, the outside world that kind of interferes with the inner world, with the progression of something that had all the factors, all the elements to be beautiful and be divine, and then all of a sudden fall apart abruptly. That's the worst scenario. I hate to say that,
Yeah, no, it's been really hard for me to reconcile, and
right.
And hearing a month ago or 2 months or a couple months ago, best friends were forever together, and then abruptly it changes. Now I can only assume she's found someone else that distracted her, or it was a better situation, and that's her right. But I'm on my own now, just trying to reconcile it, and I'm not looking for an explanation from her. I don't think I'll get one. So I'm left to myself to solve myself, so I don't get stuck in it. And so that's really been my focus of how do I, within my control, make sure that I'm not affected for for the rest of my life in a negative way, and so I heal properly.
Well, I'm gonna tell you my perspective of this. So there's your marriage, who is an okay marriage, and that it comes to an end, and you are not so probably shocked about that. But then there comes something way better than your marriage, okay? In a way, because you have something that was missing in your marriage. Now, what I expect in your case is a new relationship that will bring you that excitement that came from the second relationship, and also bring you the long-lasting element. So I do think that where you are right now, things are going to work way better in your favor. And that's my take on it. And I really think that one day you're going to probably call me on. I would love for you to call me on the show like in some months later or even a year later and tell me, guess what, Carmen, I just met somebody who's all of that, who has it all, and I really think that right now nothing is stopping me. And I've learned from whatever I had to learn in these two relationships. And I'm implementing all the lessons, and I know I'm going to behave and how I'm going to handle it. So my next relationship is that relationship for a lifetime that would survive the test of time. That's how I think it's going to happen with you. Because I
love your optimism.
Yeah, I'm very positive because I want you to be positive, because I want you to think that way and never look back 1 second into what went wrong. Just take it the way it was, embrace it, make peace with it, embrace that moment. Say, okay, whatever happened here, I embrace it, because the next phase should be a way better one. Because thinking this way will not allow you to be stuck, will not allow you to feel locked, to feel lost, to feel depressed, to be demoralized. None of those feelings, we don't need those. Those are destructive emotions that can make you feel like you're not going to move anywhere. But if the moment you say, well, you know what, I'm embracing whatever happened, and I'm so enthusiastic and positive for the next phase, which the next phase is way better than the second, which the second was better than the first. So start thinking this way. It's going to make your life way easier. Your brain will breathe. Your thoughts will celebrate that. And you constantly start projecting something. And I feel like you're a very smart, educated, profound, and even handsome man. That's the way I perceive you. And I think you have all the qualities to bring a woman, that is your equal, that finally will respond to you in the right way. And I think you will finally find your match. I'm convinced.
You are very, very kind. Thank you. And I am definitely good looking. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I can, you know what I mean? I have a third eye somewhere. Such a handsome man like you. So smart, so deep. So you have it all. You deserve somebody, you know what I mean, who's at the same level like you are, and finally you're not going to allow the distance or anything else to interfere. I think the lesson has been learned. I think you're looking for answers. You're looking in everything that you do, so this doesn't happen to you anymore. And I think the lessons are learned. And if you continue to stay on the brighter side and think this way, and open your eyes and look around, don't look back. Don't think of whatever happened. Close that chapter mentally. Close it. Just close it.
Okay.
And you're going to do great.
Yeah.
You're going to do great. I'm so grateful.
Well,
if you send me your address, I'll send you one of my books as a gift, because as a token of appreciation that you call the show, I'll send you one of my books if you send me your address at carmenharra@AOL.
I will.
It's my name, one word, carmenharra@AOL. Just send me your address. I'll send you my book. And anytime you're in a mood to call, feel free to call the show and we can talk.
Well, you've been wonderful. Thank you. I in a short amount of time, I've become a big fan. So thank you.
Oh, my goodness. That's amazing. So grateful. And thank you so much, David. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too, my dear. I'm going to take a break and I'll be back with you in a minute.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
I'm Kathy Williams, host of Sexy Mom Abundant Life radio show on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. On the show, we explore living abundantly in every area of your life. Ways to let go of limiting patterns and beliefs and to step into the flow of creativity and possibility, knowing you are supported by the universe.
I'm Fidel Mshombo. I was born in a city called the Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America and all your problems are done, they don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
And I'm back on OMTime Radio talking about love and marriage, and I just found some amazing quotes about keeping a marriage. One comes from Robert Anderson. He says, in every marriage more than a week old, there are grounds for divorce. And the trick is to find and continue to find grounds for marriage. And isn't that amazing? Like, I mean, in every marriage right away, you know, there are reasons to separate. But the wisdom is find all the reasons to stick with each other. Find all the reason to fight for each other. Find all the reason to survive, to make it grow, to make it more beautiful. That's the magic of life. There's another quote that I like that Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher, said, is not a lack of love, but a lack of friendship that makes unhappy marriages. So he points towards the fact that people should also be friends in a marriage, not only lovers. And I cannot agree with this more. And André Maurois said, a successful marriage is an edifice that must be built every day, exactly like I said. You build and you maintenance and maintenance. You want to look good, you go for maintenance. You want your house to be, put in order, maintenance. So that's for everything. But more marriage might survive if both partners realize that sometimes the better comes after the worst. And that's actually true. You see people falling apart, going for divorce, and then guess what? They marry again. They learn something, they go back to each other. I've seen cases like this, quite a lot of cases. And marriage should be a duet. When one sings, the other one claps. That has been said by Joe Murray. So I love this one too. But creating your forever relationship is something I want to talk to you about. Like creating a long-term relationship is just that that's a creation. Every couple's situation is unique, but you can choose to adopt the right mentality to make sure that you are making it work for the years ahead. And there's some tips that, I always like to write articles when I give tips to people. And there are some tips, like for instance, in order for two people to work together in building a marriage, they need to apply some rules, like keep work and home separate. My advice that is always keep your personal life separate from your professional life. So many women have become career driven, and that's amazing. But problems for work can affect relationships. So don't bring your work home. Leave your work at work, and home is home. Separate the two. Then another thing is evaluate why you want to be in a relationship, because a lot of people don't evaluate that. Getting into a relationship and staying in a relationship are two different stepping stones. Making a list of the 10 reasons you want to stay in a relationship. They might range from comfort zone to love or habit or whatever other reason you might find. Then make that marriage, the two of you against the world. I remember I wrote an article on this and people resonated. Make your bond unbreakable by taking on the mentality of it's me and you, the two of us, against the others, meaning in a sense of that indestructible bond. No matter what life throws at you, know that you and your partner, you go through it together. That's why when people are calling and telling me, well, we fall apart, we had the word interference. No, to people who are two of them against the world, there are no outside interference. There's no mother-in-law who tells me leave your wife, or there's no distant relationship. I need to work in another state that can actually make us separate. If it's us against the world. And something in a marriage, don't take it too seriously, because if we take everything too seriously, then, you can't survive. Don't create reason for arguments that aren't valid, which we tend to do all the time. Let your partner be who they are. Admire people for their strength, their weaknesses, people that are in your life, the man of your life, the woman of your life. Evaluate them and envision a future together and forgive them, because sometimes people make mistakes along the way. Some may be greater than others, but sometimes ask yourself, can I realistically forgive my partner? Will this affect our relationship? So questioning yourself all the time. Keep your relationship simple. Human beings tend to overcomplicate everything in life. As a rule of thumb, the simpler your relationship, the more genuine and the more long-lasting it will be. Don't make your relationship too complex with all kinds of false promises and pretentious demands, because then everything is going to fall apart. Form good habits together. And sometimes return to the beginning, to the moment that David was telling me everything at the beginning was that beautiful. Go back in time. Try to remember. Try to fall in love again. Try to bring those moments back to life, What were the qualities that made you interested in that person? See past their faults, their mistake, and dig deeper to rediscover the greatest qualities of the person you fall in love with. And prioritize, because it's so important to prioritize in a relationship. Remember that this is the person you decided to embark on a long life journey with. So place your relationship back where it belongs as your first priority. And in my first book, Everyday Karma, I wrote the 10 laws of a marriage. And that's actually something that I want to address, but it is referring to my first book, Everyday Karma. And I call them the 10 laws, like the 10 commitments of marriage, the 10 laws of marriage. And the first law is never yell, because when you start screaming at each other, there's a lot of damage coming, through that negativity coming through the sound. Don't scream, don't yell. Don't be angry at the same time, because two people who are angry, if you have a conflict, somehow one has to be calmer, one has to listen. One, has to talk and one has to listen. Without letting your emotion take over. Don't let emotion take over. That's a law of marriage. Don't bring up mistakes of a past. Some people constantly remember, this is what you did to me 5 years ago, 10 years ago. In this way, if you constantly bring the mistake, you can't progress. One of the key of marriage, don't judge, don't criticize. I know you might say, well, but I had a lot of reasons to be upset with my partner. But if you must bring a weakness to their attention, do it lovingly. If you have something to say, don't do it in a matter of criticizing that person. Ask for forgiveness and mean it. It's insignificant. If you say or do something wrong, admit, yes, I was wrong, I'm sorry, These are simple laws that can make a marriage survive. Don't go to sleep with unsettled arguments. This is an oldie but a goodie, because if you will always settle the arguments during the day, when you wake up the next day, you wake up with a different perspective, with a different attitude, with a different state of mind. I always suggest let your partner win. Let him win. Don't be so set on being right. Being right, that's again that ego thing that is the low level of consciousness. Remember, there's the ego, there's the soul, there's the self. There are different layers of being, of expressing yourself. Try to express yourself at the level of wisdom, which is the level of the self, and not at a low level of consciousness, which is the ego. What we see going on in this country right now, it's an ego mentality, and the ego mentality is going back hundreds of years ago, and it's a wrong mentality, and it's a sick mentality, and it instigates and creates separation and creates pain and suffering. So let's be wiser. It's time to humanity. Let's wake up and progress, because expressing love every day and allowing your partner to give it and to receive it gracefully is, again, the key. Because my whole show today was about how can we actually cultivate love, that unconditional, that beautiful love that we all want to have, that we all want to promote. So that was actually, the theme of my show today. You need to promote the most powerful emotion if you really want to stay. And think of all these 10 laws of marriage. And if you want to have them, just get my book, my first book published 20 years ago, Everyday Karma. And you can actually have them, frame them, and think of them every day when you go into a rough time in your marriage. And there are such simple laws that can actually, you apply them in so many respects in your life and live a more healthy, more peaceful life from now on, because fights and conflicts and arguing and blaming and judging and attacking each other, this is what leads us to diseases, to health problems, to mental, emotional problems that we see nowadays at every level of the society. You know, that's creeping in. We see all this constant argument and fights, and this is so unhealthy for the well-being of the collective mind of the planet. But I'm going to take briefly Leilani, who's probably waiting for such. Are you still with me, Leilani?
Hi, Carmen, I am.
I cannot hear you.
Are you there?
Yeah, for some reason, Leilani, you come very far away, like you. There's something probably with the reception.
Hello?
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear
Hi, Carmen.
you. Hi, Leilani. Hi, my beautiful.
Hi, such great advice. Thank you. I just want to ask you,
yes.
You know, I got married really young, and I didn't have, like, a role model. I made a lot of mistakes. And I just want to know if there's anything I need to do to clean up any karma with that man. I hurt him deeply.
You did. Okay, so that is something it's an imprint, you know, a karmic imprint that might stay with you. Have you ever tried to make peace with him and ask eventually for forgiveness when all of that happened?
I did that.
Well, if you did that, then it's all good.
He told me he forgave me. Like, I think you know I had a very traumatic childhood, and I just...
Right.
I didn't have tools to say, I need out of this marriage. You know, I cheated on him, all of that, and I'm still dreaming about him. It's very strange because I dream we're back together all the time, and I don't want to be back with him.
Well, there's something, Leilani, that I want you and everybody listening to understand, that brilliant Freud, he was so right. He said that everything at the end of the day happens related to the youth, to the childhood. The fact that we witness something bad going on in our families as teenagers, as kids, and that imprint stays with us, and we operate on those imprints without even realizing. So if you had a bad marriage, that's just a reflection of the problems that you experienced as a young person, as a teenager, probably even as a child, having to do with your own family. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's what's going on here with you. Yeah. So what I am convinced is that the reason of all your dreams have something to do with unhealed emotion from that time of your life. And one of the reasons I want you to work on that is because you are beautiful and you're a wonderful soul and you want to build a beautiful relationship for the future. And the way to do it is like going back and try to revisit what really happened then, the way you responded, the way you reacted, you know, to the things that happened. Yeah. So I feel like that's what's important for you to do in order for you to stay, like, in 5 months, in 3 weeks, in 2 years, you will be happily married and look back one day and said, well, I did my part. One day I wake up and I realize where this pain was coming, where this blockage was coming, where I felt like I'm not, because you are not really moving in the right direction. You keep on an attractive situation that were not helping you, you know. So and you are in fact you are not progressing. You got stuck somewhere, you know, at that original mistake, at that marriage that fall apart, you know. Continuing to bring people in your life that were not really there for you. Like, look at the relationship that you are right now with somebody who's not there for you. I mean, you're attracted to each other. There's a karma there. There's a past, but yet he shows signs of not being there for you. And that goes back, we're going back in time to the original problem. So everything goes back to the origin. Everything has to go back to the first imprint, the first thing that has been created, and it's coming from there.
You mean in my childhood?
Yeah, all goes back to childhood. The failed marriage, those are major blocking stones in your life, blocking your ability to bring into your life who is your other half.
How do I heal that?
You need to work on that mentally, emotionally, so that you break the mindset. The mind has, the way mind works, that's what people don't seem to understand. The mind stores impression, memories, events that happen, and they exist. I'm so sorry, Leilani, I'm going to the end of the show, but I will continue this topic because I want all of you listening to understand the way the mind projects reality in the physical world and how powerful it is to know to undo something that has been done. We'll talk much more, Leilani, about this, and I think I'll be able to help you. But for everybody listening, I'm very grateful for your time and for listening to Miracle Guidance. I'm Carmen Harra on OMTime Radio. I'll be back with you next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And God bless all of you. And thank you so much for listening. I'm so grateful.